Welcome, students of BA English. As you know, we have several application-oriented courses for you. Today, we have a program from one such course, that is ATR 1 Translation. We are presenting this program in a form of an interview in two parts, specially designed for those who are aspiring to become translators. For this, you should know the various problems and processes of translation. Translation can be divided into several major areas: literary translation, translating prose, translating drama, and translating poetry. Translating literature is quite different from translating an official document or a biology textbook. In this program, Professor Harish Narang will explain a specific area like translating fiction and will also highlight some of the job-related problems while translating fictions. Professor Harish Narang is a well-known person in the field of translation. His rich experiences will help you in many ways. Today, Mridula Rashmi Kindo, faculty member from the School of Humanities, IGNOU, will be interviewing Professor Harish Narang. Now, over to Ms. Mridula.
Hello viewers, welcome to this program of the course ATR 1. Since you are all students of ATR 1, you must be having some idea about translation. In today's program, we talk about translation of fiction, and for this we have invited Dr. Harish Narang, who is a professor in JNU, and he is also a very well known translator. Have you ever tried your hand at poetry translation?
Well, as I mentioned, for the first 20 years, I must confess, I did not have the courage to do it. I am a prosaic man, you may say. But finally, in 1990, I was very briefly in Finland, and a friend of mine gave me a gift, a book by a major woman writer, which was in poetry. It was a long poetic discourse. It was free verse, and so I picked up the courage. The problem was it was written in Swedish and I did not know any Swedish, but what I did was I looked at the English translation. So mine is a kind of translation via English. It was published by Sahitya Akademi in the beginning of this year, and already I must say it has got a couple of very good reviews. It took me practically 5.5 years, because translating poetry is a much more specialized job than doing fiction. Not that the problems of translating fiction are less, but it is a different kind of idiom that you need for translating poetry. And in this case, because it was free verse, it appeared to be apparently very simple. You know, there is just this line, next line, no rhyme, apparently no meter. But it doesn't matter whether a poetic line has meter or rhyme, it certainly has rhythm. It has internal poetic musical structure, and to transfer that in the case of free verse was much more difficult. I had to keep the sanctity of the line as a unit intact and communicate to my readers whatever the original author had intended. And I must say, people have liked that translation. It has come out very well. Once again, more than that, what was needed was, it was an overtly feminist text, and being a man, I had to be very, very cautious that my unconscious male psyche doesn't interfere with the female feminist discourse, both at the conscious and unconscious level. And once again, you would be surprised, one shouldn't be saying this about oneself, but a couple of my women readers wrote elaborate letters saying that I had to a great extent caught the sensitivity of that feminist discourse which was intended in the original. So maybe it has encouraged me. I will try my hand at more poetry now, I don't know, but my first love still remains translating fiction, stories and novels.
So you feel that poetry translation is much more difficult than novel translation?
Rashmi, I would not say that it is more difficult. As I said, these are two different kind of skills that are needed. What you don't need to do in the case of prose, as I said, is look at the musicality, look at the rhyme structure, or certain specified metrical requirements that are generally in poetry. The forms maybe it is iambic pentameter or something else, but certainly the translation of fiction is not easy, because you know, you can be less on your guard, and because it is discursive discourse, you can let go. I remember one particular example where a translation, Hindi translation of a major text was sent to, sorry, English translation of a major Hindi text by Premchand was sent to me for evaluating, and I was shocked. The translator had missed out not words, sentences, but paragraphs. He thought these were unnecessary. He thought that Premchand was merely putting in padding. Now that I call to be a crime. You see, a translator has no business to interfere with the writing. A writer, when he or she writes, has exercised his or her discretion, choosing a certain expression out of hundreds of choices. And a translator has no business to say, why did he choose this word, or this is unnecessary. Whenever I translate prose, I always feel that the writer is sitting on my shoulder, at my back, looking at it what I am doing. I have a responsibility towards him or her, and therefore translating prose is not easier, or translating poetry is more difficult. They need different kind of skills. You need to orient yourself towards a particular kind of translation which shifts from genre to genre, whether you are doing poetry or you are doing fiction or you are doing drama. In fact, I would say within fiction, what you have to have as a skilled translator of stories, short stories, is different from the skill that you possibly need to do a longer discursive piece of prose, namely a novel. Even there, because in story a writer has to say whatever he has to say in a short span of time with little limited space, and he does it, and that is the duty of the translator, to create that impact within that limited you know, discourse that is available to him. So I would not say it is more difficult or less difficult, but say it needs different kinds of skills.
What kind of market firm for translated work do you have in India?
I think there is a tremendous scope, not only market scope but also the need. You see, as it is, we have over 20 major Indian languages in which we have been creating literature for over 1,000 years, and we need to know each other's literature. If we are talking of this country as a composite culture, which we have given ourselves as a national objective in our constitution, we must know what is being written in other Indian languages, and only translation can build such bridges. Not only that, if we want our major literatures in Indian languages to go out to the world, we will again need translation in major world languages, whether these are European languages or languages of the Middle East or languages of the Far East or Latin American languages. We would need the help of translation. And the world is dying. People are really dying to know, and they do not mind spending money on that. Not only that, in English literature departments, now we are teaching Indian literature through translation, and therefore there is a tremendous scope and a market. People give these days more significance to buying translated texts than maybe texts written in a certain original language. So there is a tremendous scope. The only thing is, it has to be a good translation. The reader has to feel satisfied at the end of the translation that he has read something significant, he has got something out of the book. If it is written sloppily, if it is you know, the structure is sloppy, if the message is vague, then somebody is going to say, well, translations are no good, let's not try it again, and perhaps that will discourage him. So what we need is standard translations, translations done by professionals who are competent in both the languages, and there is a tremendous scope for translations, both as market, and also there is this national need that I have spoken about, national need.
In your view, which is a very good novel translation?
Well, I would not like to single out a text, you know, for the obvious reasons, because you know, I would be then showing my own prejudice and preference. But I would once again repeat, what is important is what makes a good translation, what makes an outstanding translation. You know, in an introduction to one of my texts, I have used a metaphor, and I will use that to illustrate my point. I will not give you the name of a particular book. I have said that translation is as difficult as building bridges across skies. You can't build bridges in skies because there are no foundations, and yet sky has one kind of a bridge, a rainbow. How does a rainbow occur? A rainbow occurs when there are drops of water left after a rain, and all that they need is some light from the sun, and it diffuses into the 7 colors of which light is composed. A good translation, a good translator provides that something additional, that just touch of the sun, which converts it into a rainbow. So I would say there are certain outstanding translations of fiction from English to Indian languages which have been done very well, which have had this extra bit, that touch of the sun from the translator, and there are very sloppy translations also. I will not mention them either.
Do you think the success of translation of fiction depend on the quality of the original work and its readability?
Well, to some extent yes. I would confess with you, I have, with the exception of one book, I have never translated on commission. Although I am not saying that that cannot be done. Translation can be a very fruitful career, and I am sure some of our students are looking forward to this career where they can be asked to translate a book and they can do it. As for me, I have always done a translation when I have read a book, when I have liked the book, when I thought that the message was outstanding and the form was outstanding, and I have thought that I must share it with my Hindi readers. That is how the translation of this feminist text called Love Story of the Century came about. My friend gave me that book as a gift. I read it and I liked it. I liked it so much that I said I must share this with my Hindi readers. You would be shocked. It took me more than 2 years to seek the permission of the author. She wouldn't give permission without a lot of money, and I couldn't afford $1,000 as permission. But I persisted because I thought this is a book which must go to my Hindi readers. So personally, I feel that a translation has something to do with the quality of the text also. But if the market requires, if there is a popular demand, that certainly a translator can undertake translation of something which is needed by the public at large, which is required by the people, and which he or she may not consider to be the best example of literature. I think this kind of match has to be made between the need of the market and the personal preference of the translator. There has to be a match in that.
Do you think that enough work has been done in translating regional novels in India?
Well, there is a lot of effort being done now, in the sense that Sahitya Akademi is doing it, regional academies are doing it, NBT is doing it, private enterprises are doing it. A lot of private publishers are now starting series of Indian literatures. But as I said, India is a vast country. The schoolmaster is abroad, literacy is growing, education is growing, and we have 20 major languages. And forgive me, we need translation not only from major languages, even from languages which have hitherto been considered, and I would use the quote, I don't mean it, considered primitive, or in which the scripting has recently been done. Literature is nascent. One example that comes to my mind immediately is that of Khasi, or Naga languages, or some of the tribal languages, Kuruk for instance. If we really want the people to know about our tribals and their problems and their tribulations and their successes and their failures, their aspirations, I think one way of building bridges is translate literature from those languages. May not be much literature is there, but we must do it into other Indian languages, and from other Indian languages into those. Much has been done, but much more needs to be done in this direction.
So with this, I think we'll come to the end of the program. Thank you, Dr. Harish Narang, for being with us today, and I hope the students have got enough information about translation of fiction. Thank you.
You have just viewed a program, Translation of Fiction, Part 2, an interview with Professor Harish Narang. And in this episode, he explained about view of a good fiction translation, selection of a proper work, readability and its quality, status of translation of regional novels in India, and finally, which are the difficult areas of translation. We have explained everything in detail in the printed materials that we have sent to you. Please go through those and try to relate these points that we have explained to you in the units. We'll be back with similar kind of programs related to translation. Till then, it's goodbye.